Cool. Welcome everybody to SIG Usability's regularly scheduled meeting. As everyone knows, we always record all of our meetings and post them to YouTube afterwards. So our agenda today is Josie has some updates on what she's been working on for GitHub label updates and roadmap. So we'll hand the meeting over to Josie, and then after that, Gabby, Carl, and Josie have a job survey update, which will be really cool. So yeah, Josie, you want to kick it off? I can't hear you for some reason. Is anyone else having that problem?
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I had a chance to meet with the contributor SIG, and then I followed up talking to Bob and George. And they mentioned that labels in GitHub are, there's a lot of them already. And so adding more probably wouldn't be very helpful if the end objective is to start bringing visibility to usability issues. But that being said, they brought up a lot, like a couple of other spaces where there's a lot of design opportunity. Like, for example, if we did want to think about labeling in GitHub as a whole, like how might we improve that experience? There's also discussions, so kubernetes.discussions.io. They said that there's sort of this process from a feature going into alpha and then beta, and then eventually it becomes stable and it gets put into the actual product. Right now, that's sort of a gut feeling basis. That features get promoted. And he was saying, it would be really great to get feedback on these alpha features and like improve them and then have like confidence when it's promoted to beta and stable. So it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for us, but like starting from the GitHub labels and creating new ones seems like that's probably not worth the investment right now.
Okay, cool. That's really good feedback to have. So it looks like you had an issue that you were highlighting in the agenda. Do you want to share that and go through it? I can make you co-host.
Oh, Oz is here.
Oh, cool. Is that his issue?
And so he might. Here, I'll put the issue. It's in the Slack, but I'm happy to put it in the chat as well. And so Oz is looking for feedback on the potential solution that he's proposing. And that sort of got me thinking that maybe there's sort of a question about how we can get feedback on proposed solutions and issues from the community. And that's like another opportunity the design SIG could look into.
Cool. Yeah. Oz, do you want to talk about this at all?
I mean, I can present it in a demo, but I posted as much as I can in the in the ticket. Let me just say that I already wrote this, but I've seen this multiple times, and it's just like people go like, "Oh, this is confusing," and because the command line allows you to add more contexts to the config. So you can add a context, and by default, if you just have one context, it's being used. But as you add more context, the command line doesn't know what to do. So you have like, I tell students now, let's add another context. So they add a context, and some of them will just try to use it before they set it as an active. And then they get this error, what you see here. The connection to the server localhost was refused. Did you specify the right host or the port? And this has nothing to do with what's really going on here. It's just like falling back to defaults. But if you're new, you have no clue. So that was just like wanted to see if this is interesting for people to change. I personally find the command line of Kubernetes pretty easy to use. So there's not much to improve on the UX here, just like some of the messages are kind of like confusing. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. This is definitely something that I have spent some time thinking about as well, especially if you have nested clusters. So as an example, in vSphere with Tanzu, we have a supervisor Kubernetes cluster, and then we have, and then that's managing the life cycle of a Kubernetes service. And so you have context at different layers in the stack, basically, like, am I interfacing with my infrastructure? Am I interfacing with my Kubernetes cluster? And so the context in that setting gets really confusing for people. And I imagine in the multi-tenancy working group, we have the virtual cluster project, which is sort of a similar setup where you have a central control plane that users don't get access to, and then they get sort of what's called a virtual control plane, which is their own that they can customize however they want, but doesn't actually have direct access to the infrastructure either. So I think that making it easier for people to deal with a lot of context and making it more clear what context they're in without having to type a command would be really valuable. Like, that's something that I always kind of wanted, was like, instead of needing to say get context, could I almost get like a prompt that tells me what cluster and what namespace I'm in, you know? So, yep, I definitely think there's some good work that could go on here.
Mm-hmm. So I already made like a small silly implementation. It's linked in the maybe fixed by Kubernetes pull request there at the top. I don't know. It's definitely not like the best Go code I've written. It's just like I added one switch in the handling, and there's no tests. And I probably need some kind of like help here, sponsoring this PR or like because I'm not a Kubernetes contributor. So somebody from Tanzu is willing to help me with that, then I'll put some more effort in it.
Okay, yeah. I think that there is a mentoring program where more established contributors will sort of help you get past the initial contribution and add whatever tests you need to add. So I think probably a good place to ping for that is in the the contributor experience channel. Just say, hey, like, I have this, you know, I'm working on this. Could I get some assistance understanding what I need to do to get this in a good place to get merged? And I'm definitely happy to ping some people too if you don't get any response.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool, thank you. Cool. And then I think, Josie, you also wanted to kind of have a conversation about how to make it easier for people to get involved in the SIG.
Yeah, this was just a thought. When I first joined, it was sort of hard to figure out how to get added to the calendar. And I don't know, it just felt really intimidating at the beginning. And I think I reached out to you, and that's sort of how I figured out how to get involved. And then there have been a few times in the Slack where folks have reached out and asked how to get involved as well. And then Oz also mentioned a little bit of trouble adding to the adding the meeting to the calendar. So I think this is possibly another track of work for the SIG, to sort of think about how to kind of lower the barrier to get involved. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I was
I
talking. Oh,
yeah, I think that that's very true. I suspect there's something we could do if we wanted to, for example, look at, so there's a couple problems. Like, problem number one is where do we send people when they want to get started? And right now there's like 6 different pages and different repos that we're supposed to maintain as part of the Kubernetes project. And then there's like our meeting notes, you know, which you don't, so yes, I think that we could probably like at least improve the meeting notes, and also just maybe write something up that's like a link that we put everywhere where we're like, you have to join the Google group, and then once you join the Google group, you'll get the invitation to the meeting, and Google group has latency, so it may take up to a week for that to show up, right? Because I think that's really what confuses everyone, is it's like you join the Google group and then you're like, okay, what now? And then like 5 days later, this invitation shows up in your inbox and you're like, what is happening? So yeah, I definitely hear you.
I was talking to Gabby and Carl about this, and we were thinking maybe we could leverage GitHub projects and start creating a backlog of stuff to do. And then like with all of the context that you have, it like we can put those in the little categories. And then, yeah, then it becomes like a little thing that someone can pick up and start as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I did the same thing with the multi-tenancy working group. So yeah, I can create a project right now. So the place that here, I'll just show you all what I'm looking at. So basically the place that we can really do stuff like that is within our SIG project. So we can't do it in the main Kubernetes one. Like I don't have the right permissions over there, but this is so like Kubernetes SIG usability is where is really like our playground, that we can kind of do whatever we want in. So for just like SIG usability right now, I think this is like just a very simple sort of placeholder that somebody put here as, so I think it's interesting that we have this at all, because normally we don't have this unless we had like a code project. But because we have it, we can go into projects and create a project and create a backlog and like link issues to it and everything. What I have found works well in the past, and I'm definitely open to doing it other ways, is really opening issues here and then attaching them to the project, and also using milestones as a way to group the issues. If you just, so if like we created a project right now, right, and we can just call this usability, you know, backlog, and then probably do like a, let's see, basic Kanban. So if we have this, if you just like randomly add a card, it like is kind of this weird card that you can't attach to any PRs and like doesn't link as well. It's more like just, it's almost like a Trello board card, but like with fewer features. So what I would suggest instead is creating issues over here. And then when you create an issue, you can add it to the project, and then you can put it in the appropriate column and assign it to people. But it also means that we'll have to add people who are engaged in the project as team members. So just, you know, let me know who we want to add and we can do that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's great to know. What was that nuance between adding something directly to the project versus creating the issue first?
So if I'm over here and I'm like, like that does nothing for my life, right?
Yeah.
So then if I convert it to an issue, you know, like then I can actually open it up and assign people and put labels on it and add a milestone and like do a lot more stuff with it, basically.
Cool.
Yeah. So a lot of times people will actually, kind of like the one Oz was just showing us, like people write up really nice issues. So it's better to just add that issue to the project rather than add some sort of tracking note that then kind of gets wonky and then you're linking stuff back to each other.
Cool. I mean, yeah, to what Josie said, you know, if people come and kind of like introduce themselves in the Slack, and I guess being more like intentional about carving out issues, and maybe even possibly like sharing them with them in case they're looking for kind of like small opportunities to contribute would be something to try.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah, we should totally do that. And you know, if y'all want to just kind of play with this project board and tell me if there's any permissions you're missing to actually successfully use it, we can try and figure that out.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. So Josie, was there anything else you wanted to dive more into before we jump into the data piece?
No, I think so. I guess next steps for me is to like play around with the project board and then maybe start writing an issue for onboarding and possibly another one for getting feedback on like SIG related stuff
Yeah, that's a
or
great
usability
idea.
SIG.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And when you create that, I can try and dig up all of the places that SIG usability exists in the Kubernetes project and just link it there so that we're looking at everything. And because like as an example, in other groups, I have had to like change the Zoom link. And so I'll update the meeting notice, but then it turns out everyone's using a link in the agenda doc that I forgot to update. So then I have 6 people on this Zoom and 7 people on this Zoom. So like, just because there's like this proliferation of different documents, if we can just have a list of them and then think about how people coming to us, how we want to make them very, you know, quick to be able to engage with us in all of those places, because they could be showing up anywhere. Yeah.
Hey Josie, I have a document that I made for my team. I'll share it with you just to like have a kickoff. It's not detailed enough, but I think it'll help like kick off everything.
Okay, thank you so much. I have nothing else.
Yay, cool. Great, great topics. Thank you for bringing those up. Gabby, did you want to kick off the data collection piece?
Yeah, sounds good. Let me share my screen real quick. Cool. DLC, our study Google Doc.
Yep.
Awesome. So I want to say 2 meetings ago, Carl presented the quantitative breakdown readout of the screening survey that we sent out. And I did want to bring that up again on this call because I think, Carl, you were asking about like opportunities for publishing it, possibly. So I thought it was a great readout, and you know, that just kind of wondering if that is an option or whether we should wait until like there's like results from the survey and kind of publish them together, but just kind of like looking for some guidance there.
You looking for guidance from me on that?
Oh, just from like maybe more of a question for Tasha, like if we want to, if we feel like the quantitative breakdown of the survey that we sent out might be useful to other people, like whether we could publish that now or whether we should wait and kind of publish like a bigger kind of like here's the survey that we did and the people that responded to it type of publish.
Let's see. So could you repeat the question? So is it that you want to republish the data or get more responses, or kind of what are we looking to do?
The quantitative breakdown of the survey that was sent out, like, you know, we got a lot of interesting data from it that said like, you know, here's how many machines are in people's fleets. Here's the breakdown of job roles and kind of like how they're using containers and Kubernetes in development through production. So we were just wondering, as far as data goes, if we should publish that type of, if we can publish that type of report like at the stage where this project is now, or whether we should wait until like the project is further along?
Yeah, so what I would say is as long as we are removing any personally identifiable information, I'm very, it's open source, so I'm very down with us sharing early, sharing often, and just kind of explaining exactly where it is, especially with like a, so when we publish the data, what I would suggest, and I'm sure you all are already 100% on top of this, is that there's like a blog post that kind of explains exactly what's going on, the process, where we're going. But, like I'm very much of the mind that the more open we can be, the better, and that people will be very interested in this data.
Cool.
And also, maybe we should have you all present on this data at the upcoming KubeCon. I think I grabbed SIG Usability a spot, so and we're allowed up to 4 speakers, so that could be a good topic.
Yeah, then any whether it's KubeCon or a blog post, the data's there, so
Yeah,
we can share that out if people will find it interesting.
oh yeah, I think people will be super interested in it. Like I could totally see a bunch of the senior contributors to Kubernetes just totally being super excited to see it. So yeah.
Cool. So hopping off of that, we got together. We've set up working meetings to push kind of like this part forward of the job survey. But basically, between Carl, Josie, and myself, we've put together this list of assets for conducting jobs interviews. And just to go over it real quick. We have a data usage consent form that Carl has put together, which basically kind of talks about what we're going to do with their data so that they're well informed, and also kind of making them aware that they can request their data if they should so choose, but basically just making sure that they know, one, that it will be recorded for kind of like research purposes. And yeah, and just kind of like giving them a lot of good upfront information about how we'll run this interview. The other asset in here is an email draft. We are planning on reaching out to, I want to say like 40 people that were okay with being contacted. And so this is just an email that we drafted that's a follow-up. It's kind of reminding them that they filled out the survey a while ago, that Josie actually followed up with, I think it was Jorge, and he said that we can include free shirts as kind of an incentive for this interview. So that's pretty awesome. Apart from the joy of contributing to this open source survey. There's also a calendar, a Calendly link that they can follow, and we're still trying to figure out just like the availability that we want to put in here, because we're juggling this at the same time with other work, but maybe running it during October or something like that, and just picking a few days or specific hours. So we're working through that, but that's kind of the plan that they can schedule through here. And yeah, just some links to our group so that they know that we're legit, and then a link to the original survey. What else? So we're also figuring out what kind of analysis tools we have available to us. Transcription tool for during the interviews. So we're looking at free versions of a few of these. Otter, Zoom does automatic transcriptions. And then we've been meaning to look into this Tetra Insights tool as well. And then also, as far as analyzing data afterwards, we're also looking into pretty much similar tools.
Great. Yeah,
mainly,
I know that somebody has the Otter tool join all of the multi-tenancy meetings, and I've never seen a transcript out of it. I actually kind of wondered if it was like part of their machine learning plan or something, like they just had it join all of the SIGs and like
oh,
see how the transcription came out, because I've never seen the end result, but it does join all of our meetings. So yeah.
nice. Yeah, I think we talked about that. Otter, I think, Carl, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to this, but it looks like the free plan will work for us here. But I think like we're gonna get pretty close to the limit as far as minutes. I think you get a certain amount of like free minutes per month. So I think our goal is to interview 10 to 15 people, and just if we come up close and between and are using kind of like the 3 free accounts between all of us, like we were wondering just if there's any possibility of there being like budget for like a month's use or 2 months use of some of these tools. Although we are focusing for the most part on the free plans, but that was kind of like an open question that we had.
Yeah, so I think the way to think about it is free is really easy, and then if there's something that we need to ask for data for funding for, then we make a request to the CNCF. So what I would say is if you see the need for a tool that like would really help us, you know, then we can absolutely ask and see if we can get funding. You know, and it's easier not to have to do that, but yeah, it's just kind of up to y'all.
Sounds good. Carl or Josie, do y'all want to add anything else here that we may have missed?
I think Josie had to drop, but no, I think you covered it all.
Yeah. So I think that's it as far as update. We are meeting every other week, just as far as working sessions. So anybody that wants to help out with this is more than welcome to join. And yeah, I think our next steps are just kind of hashing out that availability. And then also, yeah, just kind of like solidifying our tools. And I think those are kind of like the big next steps that we have.
Cool. Yeah, I think this sounds awesome. I guess, so I put in the notes that you all are having the biweekly meeting and that people should let you know if they want to join. You could also mention it in the mailing list, but I have a feeling that most of the people who are super engaged are making it to these meetings at this point, so I think you're getting the word out. But yeah, this all sounds awesome and it's very exciting. My one piece of feedback on the email draft is people just make sure, what I would say at the very, like the first sentence is that we're reaching out on behalf of the upstream open source Kubernetes project, because otherwise, kind of no matter how you word it, if people don't know what a SIG is or whatever, like they're going to think that it's a commercial thing. So like trying to make it as clear as possible that like you're reaching out on behalf of upstream open source Kubernetes project, like just because you never know which words people are really gonna ping on to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's super awesome.
But yeah, I think the rest of it is great. For the free shirt part, is it going to be like the Kubernetes shirt or like out of the CNCF store? Like we're going to send them a code for it or something?
I think so. Josie, when she talked to Jorge, I think that's what they confirmed. It's like they get a link, they put in their information, and they get a free Kubernetes shirt. So you
Cool.
probably know better than we do what that process looks like at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to just ping me the link to this doc, I might just massage the wording a tiny bit. But I think it's really good.
I will put this in the chat, or actually I'll ping it to you afterwards.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about today, or that we should use the meeting time to cover?
I think that's it on my end.
Okay, cool. Well, let me know if I can help with anything. I'm super happy to help review the blog post or like move anything forward that we need to move forward. I think the Calendly is a really good idea. And yeah, if y'all want to try out the GitHub project and let me know any changes we need to make it easier for people, let me know.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks everybody, and chat soon.
See you.
Bye.